Patriotism is one of the most powerful emotions a person can feel. It inspires courage, sacrifice, unity, and pride. Throughout history, countless men and women have risked everything to protect their countries, believing that their homeland represented freedom, justice, and hope. Loving your country is a noble quality. It creates a sense of belonging and responsibility. However, patriotism loses its true meaning when it becomes blind loyalty, when love for a nation prevents people from recognizing injustice, corruption, or wrongdoing. Patriotism turns into a dangerous force rather than a positive one. The quote, "You're not to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or says it," reminds us that genuine love for our country requires honesty. It challenges us to understand that supporting our nation does not mean defending every decision or action. Real patriotism demands courage, the courage to acknowledge mistakes, speak the truth, and work toward making our country better. Many people believe patriotism means always defending their country, regardless of the circumstances. They think criticizing national leaders or government policies makes someone disloyal. But history teaches us the opposite. Nations improve because brave individuals refuse to stay silent in the face of injustice. Every major step toward freedom, equality, and human rights happened because people loved their countries enough to demand change. Blind patriotism creates an environment where facts become less important than emotions. Instead of asking whether something is right or wrong, people only ask whether it benefits their own side. This mindset divides societies and prevents progress. Truth becomes secondary to loyalty, and justice is sacrificed for national pride. Reality does not change because we ignore it. Problems do not disappear because we refuse to acknowledge them. Corruption, discrimination, poverty, violence, and abuse of power exist in every nation. Pretending these problems do not exist only allows them to grow stronger. Honest citizens face reality with courage because they understand that recognizing problems is the first step toward solving them. Throughout history, many governments have made serious mistakes. Some have started unnecessary wars, violated human rights, or treated minorities unfairly. In every case, there were citizens who defended these actions simply because they believed their country could never be wrong. At the same time, there were courageous individuals who spoke against injustice, even when it was unpopular. Those people are remembered not as traitors, but as heroes, because they placed truth above blind loyalty. Wrong remains wrong, regardless of who commits it. Justice cannot have two different standards, one for friends and another for enemies. When we condemn dishonesty when our opponents practice it, we must also condemn it when it comes from those we support. If violence against innocent people is wrong when committed by another nation, it is equally wrong when committed by our own. Moral principles only have value when they apply equally to everyone. Double standards weaken both individuals and societies. When people excuse wrongdoing because it comes from someone they admire, they sacrifice integrity. They send the message that power matters more than principles. Over time, this destroys trust and encourages further injustice. True patriotism involves accountability. Loving your country means wanting it to become stronger, fairer, and more just. Parents correct their children because they love them. Teachers guide students because they want them to improve. Likewise, citizens should hold their leaders accountable because they care about the future of their nation. Constructive criticism should never be confused with hatred. A doctor tells a patient about an illness because treatment is possible only after diagnosis. Similarly, identifying national problems is an act of responsibility, not betrayal. Honest criticism helps nations learn from mistakes and become stronger. One of the greatest dangers of blind patriotism is propaganda. Governments and powerful institutions sometimes use emotional messages to discourage questioning. They portray criticism as disloyalty and encourage people to accept official narratives, though without examination. Citizens who stop asking questions become easier to manipulate. Critical thinking is essential for a healthy society. Responsible citizens verify facts, consider multiple perspectives, and remain willing to change their opinions when presented with evidence. They understand that no government, political party, or leader is perfect. Every institution requires oversight and accountability. History repeatedly proves that those who challenged injustice eventually transformed their societies. Civil rights movements, democratic reforms, anti-corruption campaigns, and struggles for freedom succeeded because ordinary people refused to accept wrongdoing simply because puggled authorities approved it. Courage often means standing alone. Speaking the truth can bring criticism, rejection, or even punishment. Yet every generation depends upon individuals willing to defend justice despite public pressure. Their commitment inspires others to think independently and act responsibly. National pride becomes meaningful only when it is based on values rather than blind loyalty. A truly great nation welcomes honest discussion, protects freedom of expression, and encourages citizens to improve society. It understands that acknowledging mistakes is a sign of strength, not weakness. The same principle applies to our personal lives. Integrity means admitting our own mistakes instead of making excuses. Growth begins with honesty. Individuals who accept responsibility become wiser and stronger, just as nations become stronger when they recognize their shortcomings. Wrongdoing does not become acceptable because it is committed by someone powerful, popular, or influential. Truth does not depend on political affiliation, nationality, religion, or ideology. Justice demands consistency. If we expect fairness from others, we must practice fairness ourselves. The world needs citizens who love their countries without losing their commitment to truth. Such people celebrate their nation's achievements while acknowledging its failures. They honor their country's values by defending justice, compassion, and human dignity. The quote reminds us that patriotism should never replace conscience. Love for one's country should inspire honesty rather than denial. It should motivate citizens to build a better future instead of protecting harmful actions. In the end, every person faces a choice. We can follow the crowd, defending wrongdoing because it comes from our own side, or we can stand firmly for truth and justice. The easier path is blind loyalty. The harder path is integrity. History consistently honors those who chose integrity. Real patriotism is not about believing your country is always right. It is about loving your country enough to want it to do what is right. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or says it. Truth remains truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Justice remains justice, even when it challenges our loyalties. When we embrace these principles, we become not only better citizens, but also better human beings.